AJ.
And Shannon.
Welcome to Don't Burn the Day.
How are you?
How are you, Shannon?
I am. You guys, if you hear any type of frazzleness in my voice, I'm gotta be honest. Today has been a day, but we are getting through it, and we have an amazing, talented, wonderful, beautiful, fabulous, all the adjectives that we can ever say about Miss Cat Jones. She's with us today, and we are super excited. If you know anything about us, she's been around here for a while, but today we actually have her. We're gonna sit down and chat with her a little bit about her past and some of the new things she's got coming up, and just all things cat. So we are not only going to hear a great song from her towards the end of the show, but we're going to get to know her a little bit. So this is kind of a Q&A with Kat. So we are excited to have her once again. And let's just start. Let's go with it.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And we can't tell you thank you enough for everything that you've done for us over the past few weeks as far as Don't Burn the Day. You guys, when I tell you she is family, like she is in the blood now. Yes. She is definitely part of the team. And like once you get to know her, she is amazing. So if you know of her or you want to check out her music after the show, we'll have all the links and everything that is Kat below in the show notes. And if you guys noticed, we're doing things a little different today. We're using StreamYard, just trying it out, seeing what we can do, if we like it, how it works for us. So, you guys, we want your feedback. We want to know if you like this and if this is a platform you would like us to use in the future. So, yeah. So please don't hesitate to write in and let us know what you think. AJ, how was your day?
It was good.
Well, go ahead.
It was a Monday, but it was good.
It was Monday, yeah, definitely. So let's let Kat introduce herself and start giving a little bit, and then we have some super questions for you. I know you've seen them, but we're really excited to ask you and get to know you a little better. So,
Yay!
Why don't you tell us all about yourself?
Yeah, well, my name is Kat Jones. I'm a performance artist here in Nashville, Tennessee. I specialize in a cross between opera, flamenco, and punk rock.
She does it all, you guys.
Yeah, that's my primary art form. And then I also build out art installations, and I curate art spaces, collaborate with different people of different genres, and create large experiences that center in on trauma recovery of different types, like from brain injury to post-traumatic stress.
And that's what we love about Kat, is that she's a multifaceted type of person, and you'll see that throughout today's show. We're going to kind of get into all the things that she does besides music, outside of music. We're going to get into everything. So like I said, you're going to totally get to know Kat Jones today from our side.
Yay!
So we're excited. AJ, you have anything you want to say, bud? You're quiet over there.
If you listened to the Don't Burn the Birthday episode, you heard Kat.
Yeah.
She was a part of the birthday celebration. Shannon threw for.
Yeah. We didn't really edit that show. It was just kind of a little private Don't Burn the Day team type thing. But if you were involved in that and you have seen the video, it's now uploaded to our YouTube channel. And it even now, I think, AJ, it's on the podcast platform.
Yeah.
But if you heard it, you know Kat was with us for AJ's Don't Burn the Birthday Bash. And she's actually been kind of an OG with us because we met her through Patty and Ricky's cocktail party a few months ago, and we just fell in love with her, so we had to have her. We didn't really know she was going to become part of the family as much as she has, but like I said earlier, we love her, and she is definitely part of the fam now.
Yeah, I'm happy to be.
Thank you. We are we are just enamored by you and everything you do, and we are happy to kind of broadcast what you do and the person that you are. We're excited.
Yay!
So, go ahead.
So, who were your musical influences growing up?
Yeah, my musical influences growing up are pretty big. I really, really, really love. Here you go. I'm just looking for the question. There we go.
There we go.
I really love David Bowie. Is one of my
Oh,
favorites.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Radiohead is one of my favorites.
Love some Radiohead.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of like really obscure opera music.
Okay.
And singers from Eastern Europe because that's my heritage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. That's kind of your background and heritage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just kind of like hunt for things that are really exciting to me, and then kind of cull from there because my family. My family apparently were known as some of the quote-unquote best singers in the world in the 1600s.
Oh, look at you. Well, you come from a great bloodline then. No,
I don't know
don't
what that
you?
means. Yeah, it's like it's almost a lost part of our history. So
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of research on it. But
Cool.
one of the ways to kind of like reclaim that is to visit my roots and sort of be able to like pull from traditional Eastern European folk music in those areas. So, yeah.
And I know, we have a lot of questions for you today, but one of the questions that I know that was on our list is we tend to hear the word inclusion, and this is kind of jumping, but I want to hear your take. We tend to hear the word inclusion a lot of times in the disability community, but in every facet of the community, people use people use and say, and the definition of inclusion is a little bit different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think your personal definition of inclusion is, and what does it mean to you?
So it's pretty varied, right? Like, so for
Yeah.
for pieces that I'm making for trauma survivors of different kinds, it's really important for me to be telling other people's stories and not
Right.
imposing what I think someone's experience is.
And that's exactly what we think here, and that's why
Yeah.
but everybody that we interviewed so far that we've asked that question to has a different response. And we really want to kind of delve into what your personal meaning for inclusion is for you. And we know that in a lot of work that you do, you have inclusion in mind.
Right.
And we think that's awesome. So I want to hear more about what you do on outside of music. I know we're going to talk a lot about musical influences and what you're doing in music, but I also want to hear about the types of things you're doing outside of music, and the types of things that make cat, and what you're involved in, and those type of things.
Yeah, so I work with an arts organization here in town called Abrasive Media, and we are actually an anti-racist organization.
Oh, rad.
And so about 50% of the organization are staffed by people of color. So we really focus on what it means to be anti-racist, what it means to spread disability awareness, because several of us also have chronic illnesses or disabilities that we're working through.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and so it's really a lot about first of all, like, we don't really take a lot of shit from anybody, like,
you're my kind. I knew I loved you. I knew I love you.
Like, we really, like, when people kind of like step on us because they think that they can, we go out of our ways to call it out in
call them on their bullshit.
Yeah. Like I got an email from someone a few weeks ago who was like, "Oh, we're starting this production company. I'd love for you to look at our notes and like see what you think." And like, the first thing that I realized was that they were like they didn't have like a pro-disabled person mindset. They didn't have, they said girls and boys.
See, we don't.
And they're talking about people who are over 21.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, okay, so you're your verbiage is like not only anti-female, like inherently, but it's also anti-trans.
Yep.
Because you're not using pronouns that are inclusive. You're obviously not thinking about what it would make to make your transportation to these different events inclusive.
Right.
And so I just came out, I just was like, Abrasive Media will not support your organization in any way. And if you reach out to us for events, we will not host anything.
I think that's amazing. And you just brought a great point to mind. And I know we didn't mention it yet, but we were going to. And absolutely, June is Pride Month, and we here at DBTD absolutely celebrate and support everyone in the LGBTQ plus IA community, and we support that on our website. So if you think that, I just want to like put that out there and say we support everybody, and we love everybody, because why not? We are our own minority, so it would be kind of shitty. Excuse my language. It would be kind of shitty for us not to support another minority, because it's who we are, you know, and we love everybody. So, and love is love no matter who you are. So
Exactly.
AJ, I know you have the questions over there. You want to ask Miss Cat something? I'm not going to be the only one here asking questions.
Yeah. At what age did you find your musical talent?
You need help with that one, or you got it? I think she got it. She got it.
Yeah. I had like a very weird journey with music. So I have wanted to sing my entire life.
Okay.
And for as long as I can remember, from a specific moment, of seeing Annie on stage when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I have had something like it was like, a seed was planted, and just the need to sing just kept growing and growing and growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, until there was like this giant tree trunk living in my body,
That is that's all about singing.
And so, I sang a lot. But I would always be told not to quit my day job. I would never get, people were just not very encouraging whenever I would sing. I was convinced that I couldn't,
Yeah.
and then, but I would sing all the time, alone in my bedroom. Like, I'd go to the other side of the house late at night and sing in there. And then I got a internship at a recording studio, because I was like, well, I'll manage bands or I'll become a producer. And that'll be fine. I'll be a support person. I don't need to be the person.
You'll still be in the genre. You'll still be in the realm of music. Yeah. So you just want to be around it at that point.
Yeah. And so I spent about 2 years in a recording studio and was interning underneath a band called the Blank Daisies, which were like a local band that were on the verge of getting signed. And I was learning how to run their live sound, do all of that.
Yeah.
And then very suddenly people started complimenting me on my voice. And
look at that.
Yeah. And the moment that happened, I started taking vocal lessons. I started learning how to play guitar, and I left my internship. And I had I got signed way too early in my career, and had a lot of really difficult lessons I had to learn because of that, but I mean, it is what it is. And I got signed 2 years after I started making music, which is way too soon. And then started touring immediately.
This is not a question that's on the roster. Everybody has the questions over there, but one of the things that you just mentioned that I kind of am interested in, and you can answer or not. What is one of those lessons, if there's a musician out there that's trying to get into the realm of music and is doing the same type thing? Because I connect to that so much with some people in my family, and And I think they're great and they need to push their talent. But what's a lesson that you have learned through that process that you could share with everyone?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me, and it took a long time to learn this because I didn't identify that I was doing this, was just to learn not to be a dick,
Right.
know? And
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was being an asshole, because I had it in my mind that I was like going out of my way to have like be full of integrity, be a woman in the scene that really represented women well, because there were almost no women touring in indie music at the time. But there was a lot of pressure as a result of that, right? Like, and there was
Right.
a ton of sexism to have to deal with, and it was kind of like a pressure cooker really settling in on me, and I wasn't mature enough to not be a dick,
Right.
like
Right.
it just is a thing,
You
what
have
is
to
it,
kind
like,
of go ahead.
yeah, scientifically, there's a study that says that your unhappiest years are between 25 and 35, because there's so much pressure on you to build your entire life.
I can agree with that. I
Yeah.
can definitely agree with that because
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old now and I just learned to not give a shit.
Yeah,
Do you understand? Like,
100%.
I just learned to not give a shit what other people think and just be me, like authentically me, and not, and stop living up to. And I think we talked about it, touched in pre-show a little bit about stop living up to what my mom or anyone else wanted me to be, or like because I was known, like in 2010 I won the title of Miss Wheelchair Florida. And I had to travel around, Florida and different states, even, outside of Florida, and, be this ambassador kind of inspirational kind of chick. But I'm like, listen, I did that. And, that time for me is over. Like, I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was a great experience. Miss Wheelchair Florida was a wonderful experience for me. But I just learned that so much that I wanted to be my own type advocate. I didn't want people to tell me how I need to advocate for other people. And like I said, a disclaimer, we're not bashing Miss Wheelchair America organization, because I met some of my best friends there, and I love the experience. But I think if this happened like 12 years ago almost, or I really think that if the younger Shannon could talk, or if the older Shannon could talk to the younger Shannon, I really wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a different person than I was back then, and I've grown so much into my womanhood, and I learned so much more about advocacy than I thought I already knew. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like the whole asshole complex. Like, I went into Miss Wheelchair Florida knowing I was gonna win, knowing I was like the best advocate, knowing I knew exactly what I wanted to say, and I'm being completely blunt here. I'm being free, and I just thought I knew everything. But by the end of the year, which was a great experience, and I'm saying it because it really was, I was changed by my experiences. Every experience that I had with Miss Wheelchair, and every time I would go and meet somebody or do a meet and greet, or, sign autographs, or hear a story from a mom who said, all my daughter wants to do is wear that crown and like take a picture with you. And so one of these, sorry, my real life guys, phones are going off. But anyway, one of the things that I realized during that time was that every single person that I would meet, or person that I would come across, I really was changed by that experience. And one of the most like poignant moments in my experience was the fact that I got to go to a local like women's shelter and like serve lunch and meet all the women that were there. And at that time, I was just coming out of a personal situation, so I was very affected by their stories and listening to them and just serving lunch to them. it really made me see that at any time I could be that one of those people. Like, I was so lucky to have what I have, and the opportunities, but at any point I could be one of those people. And it really shook me to my core and said, I need to wake up and realize that I can be better than this. And like, I've just really kind of come into my own as a person, as a woman, and just a self-acceptance. So I kind of really relate to that.
Yeah, that's so good. And I the first time I ever went to go serve in a homeless shelter, I think I was 12 or 13. My dad worked with the homeless. And so it was just such like an incredibly transformative experience.
Yeah,
for me,
this wasn't to kind of shout that out, but if you ever have a chance to volunteer or give
100%.
back in any kind of capacity, you guys please do so.
Yes.
Because let me tell you something, I've had, over the course of that year that I had to travel around many different states and do different things, and I think that was one of the most poignant, and that was in my own backyard, and that was giving back to people that I never thought I could be like, and that was just serving lunch, but it made such an impact on me because they were looking at me as like an inspiration. But then I left there literally with tears in my eyes, like sobbing, because I'm like, I need to be a better person. Like, I just F that. I need to be a better person. This like really rocked my core because at any point I could be that person, without the help of, I'm not too proud to say I have to be on support. Obviously AJ and I both get social security checks because of our disability, and we have to use government support. And so I'm not too proud to say that at any point, even though I have a husband who works and AJ is very sustainable too, and we have jobs, if we didn't have that, there's a big chance that we could be homeless too.
Yeah. And I have been homeless for about 5 years. I was actually like trying to think like how long was that? I can't figure it out completely. So, but roughly 5 years. And I wasn't living on the street, but I was having to couch surf because of 2 thyroid diseases. I have Graves' disease and Hashimoto's disease. And so at the time, my hormones were just really off. I was sleeping 18 hours a day. I couldn't work a full week of work. I had to leave after about 2.5 days of working a week, and then needed the whole time to recover. And there was just no way for me to bring enough money to live home, and I was terrified because doctors kept telling me that nothing was wrong with me, and clearly things were very wrong, and as a result of that, like, I would sleep on the floor at friends' houses for months, and have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning so that they could homeschool their kids in the room where I slept, and I would just be getting even more sick all the time because I couldn't ever get enough restorative sleep.
I think that a lot of us, if you're anything like me, I think, and I'm not too proud to say this either, I think that a lot of us have gone through periods of time in our life like that.
Yeah.
Because even me with a disability, like, I have never, thank God, I've never experienced homelessness, but I have experienced like hard time and like been down on my luck and been like, shit, how am I gonna make this work? And I'm a mom too, so I have 2 little, and I just bucked up and said, you know what, I'm not living for myself, I'm living for my kids, so I'm gonna get my ass up and I'm gonna make this work however I need to do it. Like, yes, I have government assistance, yes, I have 2 kids, yes, this is a hard time right now, yes, I went, go ahead.
You do whatever you have to do to get by.
Yes, I went through this terrible time in my life, but am I gonna let it, like, am I gonna roll over and like just give up? Hell no. If anything, I'm gonna show the world and life that I can do it myself, and it's gonna happen. And and I talk about how grateful I am to AJ for starting Don't Burn the Day and actually giving us a platform to talk to people like you and actually give, use our own platform to help, other people with disabilities learn that it's possible if you
Yeah.
give it a chance.
Yeah.
So let's get back into those questions. We kind of went up on a
No,
great
it's
tangent.
good.
On a
Yeah.
great tangent, I could talk about that forever, and maybe we will at another time. But AJ, what's another question that you had over there?
Oh, we we know you're very creative. Who inspired you to be creative, or who
Well, I think
opened
I
the
think what
door?
he's asking is there an individual person in your
Yeah.
life that kind of opened that door for you and let you kind of walk through it, or you walk through it
Yeah.
after them.
Yeah, I think I had a terrible English teacher in high school who was very just awful. Like she would, it was, I don't know, man. I won't go into like what she was like, but she
Was
was
she
just
even
like,
English? Like, how can you have a terrible English teacher?
oh, good God. I mean, she pulled me aside after the second day of class to tell me that she didn't think I belonged in the advanced English class because people who were athletic weren't usually very good at English. And
Okay,
I
well,
didn't even do sports.
that's where I would say fuck you, and I'd be like, okay, I'm either dropping this class or I'm gonna totally prove you wrong.
I was so mad.
Exactly.
I was so confused because no one had ever I don't know, shown that level of kind of prejudice to me
Right.
before, and I found out later that every athlete in the class she pulled aside and said that to, but I wasn't
But
an athlete.
you weren't even involved in sports. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
she was
Yeah.
completely judging me based off of my body type, and it was just really strange.
Wow, that's kind of, what is that?
Yeah, very crazy. But she introduced a project to basically say is there something that you want to do in your life? Are you afraid to approach that thing? Your assignment is to approach this thing that you're afraid of and to actually do it and write about it for 3 months.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm going to go up to my favorite band in town and ask them if they'll mentor me.
There you go. Oh,
Yeah.
and look at you. And I bet you passed with flying colors, and she was blown away because that is what you know. So you talked about what you know.
It opened a million doors, and then by the end of the class, she'd be like, I'm always so amazed by your writing. And I was just like, what a weird teacher, man.
It's fine.
Yeah, and now she went on a cruise with my mom
Wow.
accidentally a little while ago, and she was just like, I just always thought she was so bright, and I was like,
Well, that's
she
kind of.
did not.
That's kind of, and I love, and honestly, I'm kind of feeling like you're my spirit animal because I love to tell people to F off, and I love to show them that it's possible to do anything. And I think that's kind of the thought behind that's kind of the thought, not to F off, but that's kind of the thought behind Don't Burn the Day, is that we wanted to kind of, we weren't seeing a lot of people with disabilities in this type of media. So AJ said, this is what I want to do. And so now we are connecting with people like you, and we're connecting with other companies, and we're seeing this kind of mesh all together, and it's all because of AJ and his brainchild, and I really am grateful, number one, to him, and I will always say that, but also for you, and just to be able to say, this is who you are and the type of person that you are. I think you really mesh with the don't burn the day kind of mantra. And that brings us to my next question.
Yeah.
If you can kind of pull it up, I think it's there. We with Don't Burn the Day, we always like to tell people that life is precious, and you only get one life. But what do you think in your own mind when you think about Don't Burn the Day? What does it mean to you, and how do you take that as
I mean, I would say, as far as not burning the day, like just I think the hardest thing is being someone with a disability or just like even being a woman in the music industry, right? Is just to like really work on the mental tenacity to not give up, because that just requires so much work,
Yeah.
you know,
It-
and
Go ahead.
trying to give yourself the space to rest, but not to rest and to be still inside of yourself and carry that stillness within yourself.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's so hard, but not to burn yourself out. And I really struggle with that. You know?
I can tell you as a woman
Yeah.
who lives it every day, and a wife on top of that, and a mother, and trying to, you know, kind of not build my career as an advocate, because I've been an advocate and AJ has been an advocate too, but finally finding our niche and being happy where we are and not having to struggle and tell people this is what we can do, this is who we are, not constantly fighting for that not limelight, but fighting for the light just to be ourselves, you know, and not be considered the sick kids. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not go into that kind of thing, because a lot of people, and it happens with my husband and I know it happens with AJ a lot of times, and you know, babe, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but it pisses me off. Let me just be real. It absolutely pisses me off, and my husband knows it, and sometimes he'll laugh, but I have never, if you can believe it, I've never dated anyone in a chair. When I started dating, I've always dated people that were ambulatory, and that's not a bias or prejudice. It just happens to be who I fell in love with at the time. It doesn't change. Like, if I met somebody in a chair and wasn't married and was single, and you know, I fell in love with them, that it would be different. But I fell in love with my husband, and previously my ex, and all the time, it didn't matter. With both of them, everybody always comes up and says, "Oh, you're such a great man for taking care of her. You're such, you know, I know it's so difficult." And my husband laughs because he knows, like, it just triggers something in me that I'm like, like the raging bull comes out, because I'm just like, are you kidding me?
I get it too, so
So many of the people that I know with serious disabilities are the powerhouse in that relationship, and that's something that people do not get. You know, like, they are the ones that are keeping the relationship together. They are the ones who are doing the most shit. You know, like,
my husband is running a business, and he, like, most of the time he's out of the house every day, you know, doing the 9-to-5 thing, running the business in the offices and things like that. Luckily, for the past couple of days he's been home, but like, he really says to them, he's like, "No, you don't get it. Like, she keeps me together. Like, she's the one that's like, okay, where's this? You got this?" Like, she makes sure everything is together. And he kind of laughs to himself when we're out or when we're together, because he knows, like, people do that all the time, and he'll just look at me, and I just give him a look, and he knows, like, it pissed me off, and like, it's just there's so much of a distortion there, like, and exactly what you were saying, like, there's so much. People are a powerhouse in relationship, whether you have a disability or not. You know. And
well, and the thing that's interesting to me too, and you can tell me if you feel this way as well, but I feel like that, like, if you have limited energy, or you have a few extra sick days than other people, or chronic sick days, you know, like, the time that you do have, you take very, very seriously, and you concentrate as much productivity into the time that you have as possible. The thing is that with people who are able-bodied, they usually waste a lot of their time.
Yeah.
And so, like, So it's like it's a weird thing where people are like, oh, I
It's a
can't
weird-
believe how much you're able to get done when you have these disabilities working against you. And I'm like, I'm able to get all of this done because I'm aware of how limited my time is because of my disabilities.
And maybe
Exactly.
and maybe not even time, but like, you know, there's always been this thing where, and I completely support it, because I've also had jobs in the corporate world where,
Mhm.
you know, even though I have a disability, I'm expected to, you know, to keep that bar up, you know, and be that person. And I worked in the preschool sector for a while, and I thought that I loved it. Like, I went to college for education. I thought that, like, this is going to be where I really make the most difference, because I love little kids, and I had just had my kids, so I was feeling all the mommy emotions and all the things.
Exactly.
And really and truly, people were like, wow, you really, really do this job well. But the thing is, I know how important it is to people with disabilities to be able to keep their job and to be part of the economic society as a whole, because so much of that is against people with disabilities, because they automatically look at our chair and go, oh, you can't do this because you're
Yep.
physically disabled. Go ahead. AJ, you
Yeah.
have something?
I've had the same situations happen in my life as well. So
Go ahead. Go ahead, sorry.
I'm with you on that one. One question I had was um what's or what kind of projects are you working on?
Yeah, we want to know about
Yeah.
we want to know all the things coming down the road for Kat.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure yet. Does that make sense?
That's a good answer.
Yeah,
That's a great answer.
So I
And just a quick stop there for
Yeah.
1 second, guys. We had all these questions planned out, but I know you hear us running on tangents, but we just love Kat. So if you hear us running on a little bit of a tangent sometimes, that's all. And we will go back to the questions. And I think AJ kind of got us back on track. So
Yeah.
let's just keep going.
Yeah, so 2020 kicked my ass really hard.
As much as it did everybody else.
Yeah, totally. You know, of course, I'm a professional musician. It stopped my live dates. It stopped me from being able to tour. My primary audience is in Europe, and so touring in Europe is like, I don't know when that's gonna. I'm counting on it not being until 2021. I've started to get requests to book
Until
shows because
2022?
thank you, 2022. I started to get requests to book shows, but my finances are super screwed up from last year. Like, you know, all the stuff. I've just been kind of barely getting by, you know.
Us too. We understand that.
Yeah. And so, you know, running a business, you know, you have to have capital in order to do it. And if I don't have startup capital from the beginning, then I have to just wait until I do. So, so one of the cool things that happened was that I was able to launch a remote art installation that involved.
Yeah, we heard about you talked about that a little bit. You want to delve into kind of more about that and what's going on with it? We'd love to hear it.
I'll grab part of a piece of one, but like, so I have been hand making these.
Kat, look at that.
Yeah, I love it's just a mold that I use that I pour in, and then I've been just experimenting with different kinds of layering and different kinds of painting techniques, and then have been attaching those to other pieces of art that I make, and sending out these different pieces of art that I've made in a box to use as a meditation on intimacy and what the last year was like and how to process how you've been feeling so that you can move forward in a way that has like a little bit more intention, maybe.
That sounds amazing.
Like, what am I doing?
We want all of the things. We want to, you know, we want to be a part of all of what you're doing. So I mean, if you want to send the DBT us as a DBT team a box and let us experience it. I think that would be fun. Maybe we could do it.
Yes.
Maybe we could do it virtually to kind of
Yeah.
show people that it's possible. We would love that. One of the things, I know we had a question relating back to 2020 and how just those virtual experiences, I can't talk today, sorry, experiences have affected you and also have affected your audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. At the beginning of 2020, I think becoming a live streamer.
Kat, I think that's there if you want to pull it up. I think that's as part of the questions too.
Yeah, you
You want
got
to
it.
pull it up there so everybody can see the question we asked.
Is it this one that you're looking
Yeah.
for? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I looked for it and I lost it.
You're
So I think one of the things was that, you know, at the beginning of me starting to live stream or really creating a schedule around live streaming, it was just a huge godsend to me. You know, like I immediately stopped. My anxiety and my depression weren't as bad. I was suddenly creating like a close-knit community. I had end goals in mind. You know, I was able to create interesting content that I was really excited about sharing with people. It pushed me really hard to work through The Veil Between Us, which is this art installation that I sent out. And it was just like a really incredible time to also connect with friends that I'd kind of lost touch with. You know, it was just a really beautiful
maybe
space.
a different type of community. You know, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think we can relate as a team at Don't Burn the Day, because you know we do have disabilities, and I think the internet became the great equalizer.
100%.
You know, when I first the way I first started with AJ, we've been, if you know, then you know that AJ and I have been friends for since we were like OG. We go way back, like two flat tires. But I was like preschool teaching, and I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do. So I got a job teaching virtually, and I didn't like it. I wasn't really feeling the same kind of pep about it that I had felt. And AJ came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to be on my show? Do you want to be on my podcast to be interviewed?" So I was like, "Cool, you know, yeah, let's do it." So I interviewed with him, and then, you know, there was so much response from that that, you know, he ended up asking me to be his co-host. And I then found, and I think AJ, you can relate too, we found a new way to do it together, and we saw end goals, and we saw we saw the DBT community start to grow, and we're touching the lives of different people, so we can relate to exactly what you're saying, because I was really depressed. I was in a bad place at the time. You know, we were like, my husband and I were going through it for a minute. Okay, let's call it what it is. It was reality. It was 2020, and you know, I wasn't sure where we were gonna go, but by having this outlet with AJ, and now being able to, you know, kind of come on every week and talk about topics that mean a lot to us, we're making a difference, and that just kind of brightens the eyes of everybody, I think. And so, I mean, I know you want to talk a little bit more on the topic, and I'm sorry I didn't want
Not at all.
to take away from it,
great.
but I just wanted to let you know we related to that.
What advice would you give people that they be struggling with something?
Yeah.
What advice would I give people who are struggling with what?
Right. With anything, like now.
With anything.
Right now.
Woo! Whoa.
Right now, or, you know, let's take it into the whole, you know, I know this is kind of a dirty word right now, but let's take it into the whole COVID pandemic type of situation, and let's say, you know, like I just said, we kind of dug our AJ and I kind of dug our way out by creating Don't Burn the Day, and you created these art installations and different things that you're doing. So what kind of advice would you give somebody who's still maybe struggling just a little bit with what's going on?
I think I think for me, as we've gotten farther into it, and now we're like, a year past some of the really intense traumas that have happened, and there are all of these like embodied experiences that are coming out that I don't know how to process. All of that. Like, I would say, like, because the whole country has PTSD, right? Like,
I'll attest,
sure.
I have it.
Yeah. So, I think the big thing for me really is to try and not abandon the things that I love, and to like double down into what beautiful experiences I can have, and to allow those to kind of feed my soul, because we have to figure out how to.
It's kind of like you have to figure out how to live again, because
totally.
so much living actually stopped. Like, I don't know if you can tell, you may not be able to tell, but I'm a very extroverted person. Okay.
Oh, yes, you are.
And I'm used to traveling, and I'm used to going out with my friends, and I'm used to, even though I have a disability and I use a chair for mobility, I'm used to like going out with my friends and traveling and seeing this and being here and going there. So even though it happened and we had to be home, I think for us, like, it kind of brought me back as a mother too, and I'm always like going places with my kids and doing things, so that stopped. But it really allowed me as a woman with a disability to go, okay, like, I really notice I need to spend more time with my kids, because my kids are teenagers now, they're growing up. The school situation is different, so we had to learn how to work together, and work their schedules out, because there's parenting schedules and co-parenting schedules and things like that. So that was definitely different. And I think for just being able to kind of double down on what you love, like you were saying, is really important. And I can even say, like, as a person with a disability, you would think, oh, like, it's not going to bother you, because people, again, going back to what people think people with disabilities do every day, people assume, and if you don't, we're not bashing anybody, but most people assume that we sit home. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that people assume we sit at home and don't do anything.
Right. People assume those things, but that's completely not true. So I didn't want to be, and I was so scared. I was really scared I didn't want to become that person. Like, I didn't want to just sit home and watch TV and eat chips all day. I wanted to still be active, and I wanted to be in touch with my friends. And so being able to have this platform and build the Don't Burn the Day community, like AJ and I have work to do, it allowed us to have end goals and give us some hope. And now, not only are we so fulfilled by doing it, we get emails and things from other people all the time that say thank you for doing what you do, because you give us hope. And so, much like you said, we just kind of have to like double down on what we love. So I stopped and really thought about, like, what is going to fulfill me. So I ended up just stopping completely, like, the whole preschool thing, and diving right into my blogging business, and also doing this with AJ. And I found myself in a different way. I look at myself in a different light now.
Yeah.
Well, this is just a side question. Well, this is part of it, but we also want to know, like, what's the best concert that you've ever been to?
Oh my gosh. So
many, right?
Yeah, I've been to thousands and thousands of shows, so it's so intense. I would say it's so hard.
You gotta give us one.
The most unifying experience I've ever had at a show was something that I didn't expect. It was this band called Calexico, out of I believe they live in Texas, close to Austin. And I was in Portland, Oregon, bought a ticket for myself, went to go, alone. And
we all do. Those are sometimes the most cathartic and best experiences.
Totally.
I feel like.
Totally.
Yes.
And it was just apparently maybe the lead singer used to live in Portland, so we had like a kind of hometown hero kind of thing going on. And I've seen them play twice beforehand and did not have like one of my least favorite concert going experiences is with the same band, but it's because again the audience was just garbage, right?
Right.
And so I go to this other show and it's just like so incredible. Everyone in the room is just it was the most communal, most beautiful concert experience I've ever been to. I've never experienced anything like that in a show before or since, and everyone on their way out was like, oh, I'm never gonna see anything that wonderful again.
That had to be the most raddest experience because go ahead.
Yeah, and
AJ.
so oh, sorry, AJ, go ahead.
Did you have something?
You said before you usually tour in Europe. What's one country that you love touring in?
Let her finish. I want to hear the other side of that story because
Sure.
I know there's a little bit you wanted to finish about the concert, and I
Yeah,
definitely want to hear that a little bit, and then we'll go right into the next one.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I can't tell you what happened that was so special, but I can tell you everyone in the room could feel it, you know? And
It was just imprinted, yeah?
yeah, totally. And it was just, I don't know, it was just one of the most, I've never felt so connected to a large group of people in my life, and that was really beautiful.
Let's move on into the question that AJ asked about where's like your favorite European country to tour in or to be in or to sing.
Yeah. So I have played a lot of music in Scotland because I went to school there for a year and
how was that experience?
Really incredible. It was in Edinburgh, which I think is, for me so far, is the most beautiful city I've ever been to.
Awesome.
And so like getting to live in that city and getting that city, like having the opportunity to have this city shape me was just really powerful.
Yeah. But yeah, what was your like favorite experience or city?
Yeah, so
you said Scotland, but what happened?
My favorite show experience, I would say, was Germany, and I love touring in Germany because it's one of the birthplaces of the avant-garde, and so the kind of music that I play, when I play here, sometimes American audiences are like, I don't really understand what it is that you do, but I think maybe I like it.
They don't get it. Like you have to be open-minded about. I've heard a lot of your music, and I can relate to it, and I love it because you have to be able to, at the time you're singing, you have to be able to open your mind and kind of be able to put yourself in your experience, you know, and that's kind of what I do when I hear. Because I've listened, as of late, because of our connection, I've listened to a lot, and when I first heard you the very first time, I'll be honest and say, I was like, well, you know, I don't really know who she is, but since I've listened to a lot of your stuff and since you've been on, and like since we've connected off air, I really have tried, and I'm like, wow, I really do understand and realize what she's talking about or what she's trying to convey. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. So so Germany, because I don't have to educate them about what I do beforehand. They already they're already connected to the European companies that make that music.
Yeah.
They're one of the birthplaces of the avant-garde, so they're ready to jump, and their Germans are very experiential, and so they're just ready to jump in on,
they're ready to have a new experience,
whatever weird places I want to take them to.
Yeah.
And so my favorite show in Germany was actually my third show ever in Germany at this, it was like a house show. And the booking agent had kind of dropped the ball a little bit. They had a headliner booked for the show who was, we're friends now, but at the time they were being really, really, really rigid about how the show would run. And they were really like, you guys can play one song each at the beginning of the set, and then we're going to play for 2.5 hours, which is a long time.
A long time, yeah.
And then you can come on afterwards, and you can each play for 30 minutes. And I'm just like, that's demanding so much from my audience, you know, like everyone's going to be tired by the end of a 2.5
I would think so.
hour
Like,
set,
who's?
right?
I mean, who is gonna sit through a 2.5 hour set? Like, let's be real.
Right. And so it was really intense, and to be frank,
Unless you're Cat Jones, and then you just blow everybody away.
It was
Yeah.
intense, and it was a little bit insulting, you know, and like it was just really like they were like, we don't know who you are, and so we really don't want to play the show with you, you know.
That's shitty.
And so we went on and did, you know, either a song together or one song a piece, I don't remember. And then this really long, great but super long show happened, and I was walking around during the show because I was with singer-songwriters. I think it's easy to get intellectually tired during sets because if you want to be present, you have to be paying attention the
Focus
whole time,
and
you know?
yeah, and you have to focus on you know what you're doing, and then also focus on making the crowd feel what you're, you know, or trying to make the crowd feel what you're doing, and you know, be involved.
Even as an audience member, you're paying attention to lyrics and hearing stories. When you're watching a show with a band, it's usually like, here's the next song, here's the next song. You may not understand all the lyrics. It doesn't require the same intellectual
and especially if it's like a house show where the audience is kind of small. I don't know how the audience was there, but just in experiences that I've had or seen, like if it's a house show, if the venue is a lot smaller, so the crowd's a lot smaller, it takes a lot to connect to just those people in general.
Yeah, and that can depend. Like sometimes I'm just rad in a room of 3 people, and sometimes I'm really good in a room of 1,000. You know, it kind of depends on the mental work that you do before the show, you know. But I was sort of walking around and I was like, okay, we're not staying in that room while I'm performing. I've got to find another space to take 55 people to, you know. And so I'm just walking around this big space. It was basically in this big like warehouse complex. And I stepped outside. It was a full moon, and there was a staircase that led into this like pre-World War II bricked up area with vines growing up the walls, and like there's a balcony and the staircase, and then there's one light underneath the door at the bottom of this sort of what I was going to use as an amphitheater.
Wow. Right? How exciting was that? That was super cool.
Yeah. And so I was like, when everyone finished and they finished watching Orion, who is my tour mate, play, I was like, all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. Everyone take about 10 minutes, go get your jackets, get something warm to drink. We're going to go outside and we're just going to share a few songs outside, you know? And so people just sat up the stairs and were standing in the balcony, and some people went underneath the balcony and kind of sat in this like sort of dark area. And I had a view of all of this and the full moon, you know?
How cool was that?
And then I was standing underneath this one light, like just using it as a spotlight.
Yeah.
And I got into my first song, and the first song that I have like starts, it's basically just like a movement about kind of forgetting who you are, and maybe other people trying to like call you back into the person that you're not, you know?
No, boy.
And at the end of the song, I do this like this whole opera thing, you know, and that's kind of how the song ends. So I get through all of the lyrics, and then all of a sudden the light turns off, and I realize in this moment that it's motion censored.
Oh, no.
And it's so great because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this in the darkness.
That's so cool, though.
And so I got through this whole part, right? And then took a step back because I knew it was motion censored, and then the light went back on.
Oh,
and everyone in the audience was like, what the fuck happened?
That's so cool, though. That's so awesome
Cool.
for you.
Oh,
And I mean, I'm constantly thinking, and like you said, And what an experience for those people, because not only did you take them out of what they thought was going to be happening and bring them into kind of a 3D experience with you, and kind of take them down the, you went outside, you're experiencing all these sensor things. I mean, obviously it was cold, so they had to warm up, they had to learn, get close and be, kind of join like that. But you as a singer were then able to like take it above and beyond even what you thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was an amazing experience. So
yeah, and my friend John Royal has this like amazing thing. I told him that story, and he was like, "Isn't it interesting?" He was like, "That's what I love about theater, because if you are really paying attention, and you're willing to like pivot in the right spaces, and you're watching for opportunities to give people new experiences," he was just like, God or the universe will partner with you in that and make really cool
it all
shit happen.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, that's what I was saying. When you were able to take them kind of out of this one-dimensional situation, and then take them outside, and they're feeling the cold, and they're, they have no other choice but to gather together and become a unit, and then listen to you, like an amazing singer, sing in a different realm that they might not be used to. Maybe some of them, have never heard your opera techniques or whatever, and I'm sure it was like a 4D experience for them, and it had to be great. Like that had to be really awesome. I would have liked to be there, because I'm kind of that person who's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I sure would too.
Yeah.
Could you take us into the process of...
Oh yeah, AJ wants to know, like, and I know my husband is a musician, so I know sometimes musicians kind of don't want to get into their, process of writing, but I know AJ wants to know. AJ wants to know about what is, what can you let us in on just a little bit of your writing process and how your songs come to be what they are?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit hard to describe because they're all so different, Sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I get a lyrical idea and I have to write it down and, fill out 3 pages of work.
My husband has a notebook by the bed, and he will. I've seen him literally wake up in the middle of the night and be writing. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I got this," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like he will literally write a lyric in the middle of whatever he's doing, stop everything.
Yeah,
and,
that's so good.
So I see that every day, and it's really cool. But go ahead. I'm sorry, continue.
Oh yeah. Other times I sit down and I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that I have something that I need to process.
Yeah.
And when I'm done, when I'm 5 or 10 minutes later, I'm done, and I've had this big cathartic experience, and I have a brand new song. It can work like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am playing someone else's song and I get really inspired by their chords, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go ahead and bang something out right now, and so occasionally I'm usually not happy with those songs in the long term, to be honest, because it's really about like me finding chords that I love, and I tend to use a lot of how do I describe this?
However you want. It's okay.
I play in what is known as modes of keys, so I play just outside of traditional keys, really.
Okay.
And so it's interesting because not a lot of artists do that, and so when I get inspired by someone else's chords, I usually end up inside of their thinking about a song, and then when I've played it a few times, I'm like, okay, I'm bored with this song. I'm gonna move on now.
I think I can relate as the wife to somebody who is constantly picking up his guitar and constantly, he'll have a song that he loves, and then he makes it his own and tries to kind of mold, he loves a song, but he will mold it to the way he sings and the way he processes it. And so that's a beautiful thing to see too.
Yeah.
Just to watch that happen. So yeah, I can definitely kind of relate. I can't completely fully relate, but on the other side of being the listener, I can relate because
Yeah. Yeah, and then I've been making up songs live during my streams to celebrate, like if we get a raid, like if someone brings a bunch of people from their own audience into our room, I'll celebrate them by making up a song live. And yesterday I was just cutting and pasting and downloading those songs so that I have records of them, because there are a few of them that
you
I
want to
want
keep
to
them.
turn
Yeah,
that into something,
yeah.
And so sometimes, yeah, like the process of writing something in the moment with a bunch of people actually watching it has been really interesting, because I think I have like the song has to be really super simple, and I want it to be really catchy in that moment. So I've like been writing a bunch of like short punk rock songs,
That's rad.
just
That's
in the
really
moment.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's really cool. It's kind of like that when you're. I mean, this is honestly like really nothing like that, but kind of like that in the same sense when you're a writer like I am, when you're blogging, like because a lot of times like I'm giving, I work with companies who are like, okay, well I need you to write about this designer, or I need you to write about this, so I interview and I do things like that. But then when I'm writing alone, like in my bedroom, and I just want it to be my own blog for my own processing, there's so much shit that comes out of my brain because it's like, I'm getting through what I need to say, or like AJ can attest. Like I sent him, and I had nobody knew I was writing this, and sometimes in the quietness of my own solitude, like I'll just start writing, and this whole thing will come out, and I'm like, whoa, like I didn't even realize that I had that in me to be able to write it. So
She'll send it to me, and I'll look at it.
I won't even say anything about like I'm gonna send it to you, or let my husband read it, or let AJ read it, or anything. I'll just send it.
I'll be like, where did that come from?
Yeah,
I think
that's
there's
beautiful.
a lot of but the same thing goes for like songwriting and things like that, where like
Yeah.
a lot of the things that we have gone through as women, and I know that you and I are on the same playing field as far as woman empowerment and issues like in social justice. So I think a lot of that comes from me, and I can't sing to save my life, so don't ask me to ever try because it wouldn't be cute. But
I've heard you sing Happy Birthday.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
that was not even well, like let's not even talk about that. That was terrible. I might have I might have had a shot or two before I did that, so
come on.
just to be able to even do that. But
Yeah.
I have I definitely my husband is such an inspiration to me, because and he really tries to connect. And so I definitely understand what you're saying about connection with people. He always, he's always asking me, babe, how does that sound? I'm like, you're great. Like, just be you. You're great. And like, that's what I think music and collaboration and just creativity is all about. Like, is just being yourself. And then to see you get a following and people who like what you're doing, and that's just a plus. But it's just all about creativity.